Alright everyone, we start off today with all but a total confirmation that Donald Trump does indeed intend to run in 2024. The language that he uses here, link in the description, pretty much would only be used in the sense of him having an active campaign. Now he hasn't come out and explicitly said, yes, I intend to run in 2024. When initially queried, and this was in the very dawn of Biden's admin, because Biden's so boring, they were already asking Trump, well, do you intend to run again? And he's like, well, I can't answer that, but he's like, but I have made a decision on whether I intend to run. Now, I will always point this out when I talk about the possibility of Trump 2024. Intend to run and will run are not the same thing. He's got to look at the political landscape, the economic landscape. Could have a nuclear war. That would kind of put the kibosh to presidential elections for a while. His own health and also Biden's health before he can make a final decision. What this is, though, is a statement effectively that if things do generally line up, he will run. There's a 99% chance that he'll run unless, as I said, he or Biden potentially have health issues. Those are really the main things that could stop this. If he runs, he has a very good chance of winning. He certainly has a monumental chance of being the nominee for the Republicans. I can't think of anyone that can really stop him who hasn't pledged not to run against him. So link in the description. He's effectively confirming that, number one. And number two, he's suggesting an interesting amendment to the way in which the government works, which is the direct subjugation of executive employees to the President of the United States so that they can be fired. One of the biggest things that he had as a problem was the inability to get rid of people who were unwilling to work with him despite supposedly being his subjugate. Now, if he had stated that he wanted this in general for federal employees, I would oppose it. It would be unconstitutional. If, however, the legislature has duly acted and created a bureau and allowed the president to potentially appoint or at least command the head of that agency, and they're reluctant to do their job, I see no problem with the president asserting the authority to fire an individual who's not doing their job when it's under executive purview to begin with. It's actually a very good idea. It would definitely help corral the deep state. Some people were like, well, no, that's terrifying because a liberal could do the same things. Again, so what? It's an executive employee. They're directly under the president's purview. If you have a problem with that, if you have a problem with the fact that that bureau can potentially be controlled by the person who's meant to control it, ask the legislature to step in and, rein it in. Ask the legislature to block such action through a bill, which they could do if they have the votes, if they have the wherewithal. They could take direct authority over it. They could form a committee of sorts and say, no, this bureau is now going to be run by the Security Council of the U.S. Senate or something. Now, before I get into this further, it is rather exciting. Thinking about another Trump term with the dire, bleak economy the way it is, I'm sure is something that appeals to more and more people, considering how calm and relaxed things generally were, except when leftoids decide to burn down Wendy's back during the Trump administration. Certainly, I think that if he got in there, Putin probably wouldn't be invading any of his neighbors. Keep in mind down below, if you're watching this video on YouTube, there will be a pinned comment with links to other video hosting sites that I use. Keep in mind that I make exclusive material every single day on those platforms that doesn't go on YouTube. Most days 2 exclusive videos, and in the future 3. Right now I'm still at the ass end of doing the last bit of important literary work for my one-off editions. I'm about to finish the editing of another. That means I only have to edit 2 more works, and I've got a backlog of works waiting for illustration and cover art as well. I'm pretty close to done. On days, of course, where I have a non-political video, that will also go on YouTube, so there will only be 1 new tech exclusive. You should get on those sites, though. I'm just about to hit 50 million views on BitChute, and the other day hit 82,000 subscribers on Rumble. And the day before that, 61,000 on Odyssey, so things are cooking up for the clankers. I told you this would be the decade of the clank. You thought the 2010s were good for growth? Oh boy, you ain't seen nothing yet. Anyway, back to the topic at hand, lest I rant excessively. More excessively than normal, let's face it. I would be very excited if Trump runs. I mean, some people would say, well, he's old and, he's a has-been. I love it when people use that line. Well, no, not really. I don't care if a person running is 90 if they have no health issues. Trump has lost weight. He has no apparent significant health issues, nor has had any apparent medical emergencies, that's night and day from someone like Joe Biden now, isn't it? Or Hillary Clinton, for that matter, who is making some maneuvers as though she could potentially run. And if it's Hillary versus Trump again, he'll wipe the floor with her. You won't be able to say the, well, no dynastic bullshit, we need something new line, because both of the candidates will have run explicitly against one another before. The problem is that the one that won, Trump, was tested and did a good job. At least economically. If the economy is like this, the Democrats really don't have a chance. I think that he would win handily, by a bigger margin than 2016. I think he would defeat Biden. I think he would defeat Kamala Harris. Part of it depends on who his running mate is. It clearly would not be Mike Pence. Mike Pence is not going to be back in executive politics. I'm really hesitant to believe that he intends to run. I think that he realizes that the neocon thing is ending, and that he wouldn't, if he can't get the big money support, because they've all flocked to the Democrats, the Bushes and stuff, they're over there too. If he can't get the big money, and he doesn't have the populist upswelling for grassroots support, and he certainly doesn't have the tech-literate sort of meme campaign thing, Mike Pence would be effectively toast. If Mike Pence happens to be the nominee, by the way, I predict he'll lose. And rightfully so. I don't care if the Democrats get another Biden term, because he'll probably just croak in office anyway. So it's like, well, President Kamala, the Democrats have really screwed themselves now because of the poor optics of that particular administration. Be hilarious to see who she'd have as second fiddle, by the way. Probably Amy Klobuchar, and then they'd have bitch fights behind the scenes. Anyway, I think that he's likely to run. Again, barring the health issue. The biggest problem would be Biden, actually, more than Trump. I wouldn't be worried about Trump's health per se, although, he's in his mid-70s. I would worry more about Biden. He's approaching 80. He's had several aneurysms. He's had numerous other health issues, and he has Alzheimer's disease. And it's quite clear. He doesn't have a stutter. He has Alzheimer's disease. He has cognitive decline, for which he's probably on a lot of medications to continue functioning long enough to kick the can down the road. They're using him as a steward, as a pawn. He is a puppet. He is not effectively the president at all. He is the spokesperson for the United States. Other people are calling the executive shots. By the way, in the future, we should probably address this issue. We should probably make sure that we don't have demented people with their finger next to the little red button. Trump, meanwhile, he has to worry about Biden croaking or having some problem. The problem is that Trump will be basically the same age in the subsequent election that Biden was in the previous one. So if Biden has to get 25th or resign or something, or has a big health problem and croaks, people say, well, the time has come that we address the age issue. Unless Trump happens to run against Hillary, because, of course, again, she's only a half a year younger. Barring that, you could have a Buttigieg or someone like that, or a Joe Kennedy, a young Democrat, who would say, look, we just had this old fogey as president, he croaked in office. Or he had to resign because he couldn't even spell his own name. Do we really want to have that happen again, America? That would be a killing blow. And Trump would be well warned that if Biden has a significant health issue and isn't the candidate, or brings up health as one of the reasons not to run, then he probably shouldn't bother running, because it'd be a big problem. I can actually see a little switcheroo here that the Democrats could feasibly use to ram their own candidate through, assuming that Trump is the nominee. Here's how. You get a younger candidate. Trump runs against them. Although technically you don't need a younger candidate majorly. They just need to be half a decade younger or something. They can be in their 60s. Then you have Biden resign before the election. He says, I'm not seeking, another term. He either refuses to run or resign shortly before it. Probably the former. You have him come out on TV once the election begins. Trump's been nominated by the Republicans. He's running against Joe Schmo, Democrat. You have Biden come out and say, well, no, I wouldn't cast a vote for Trump if I was you. Like, one of the reasons why I decided not to run, I'm not the man I used to be. I'm feeling hazy and stuff, and he'll be the same age that I was. They'll throw Biden under the bus. If he doesn't do it, I guarantee that they'd have a staffer do it. Some anonymous source would say that Biden didn't seek re-election because he was in cognitive decline and he was all fucked up physically. They'll do that in order to try to keep Trump out of office, but only under that particular scenario. If Biden attempts to run or doesn't have any particular issues and then refuses, they won't be able to do that. And of course, Trump may be running against someone about the same age. It could still be feasibly Hillary. It could be Joe Manchin. He's close to the same age. There aren't a lot of young people in the Democratic Party. I think most young people realize they've been abandoned by the Democrats. As far as the idea of augmenting presidential power, again, I think this would solve a unique problem. It would only apply to a handful of people within these bureaus, within government positions, and you should construe it as a due constitutional power insofar as the legislature has already acted to create a bureau. Now, this is the biggest problem for someone like me who's a libertarian. The fact that a bureau can be created by Congress, that's constitutional. They've created a group that's for a purpose. But then it expands and expands and expands. Congress refuses to rein it in, and the only way to prevent it from overstretching, like OSHA tried to do with their vax mandate, etc. This has happened with the EPA and so forth. SCOTUS is considering a case involving the EPA right now and certain environmental standards. Only way to rein them in is through the judiciary. The problem is the judiciary is slow and reluctant to take up cases. You have an ever-expanding bureaucratic system. If the president is therefore capable of firing the head of some bureau, it doesn't really change that side of bureaucracy. It asserts the executive authority that's been given by Congress. I don't have a constitutional issue with that. And if they want to remove that capability, just remove the bureau entirely. That's what I would do. And save a lot of money. That's about all. Peace out.